Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, November 13th, 2022, unless it's 3 p.m. Eastern. Learning as we progress in these meditations more and more about our internal energies, our etheric energies, the 1 through 7 bodies. These are all energetic, giving us an understanding of progressing from within and the different steps that we take or choose to take to go within. And a lot of people, they don't really know what going within means. So it is a spectacular journey, which ultimately brings us to mastering of the ego mind, and eventually the ego mind leaves, and then we move continuously deeper and deeper until we discover that we are pure consciousness. And then at pure consciousness, we will discover beyond pure consciousness. Each of our chakras has a sleep part, except the last, the Dasa. This is the 7th chakra. Awareness is total. It is pure awareness. That's why Krishna says in the Gita, the yogi never sleeps. The yogi means one who has come to the last center of their being, to the ultimate flower, one who has become a lotus. They never sleep. Their body sleeps, the mind sleeps. They never sleep. Even when a Buddha is sleeping, deep in the innermost core of his being, a light goes on burning bright. The 7th chakra has no sleep part to it. All the other 6 chakras have both, yin, yang. Sometimes they sleep, sometimes they are awake, day, night. They have both aspects. When you feel hungry, the center for hunger is awake. If you have ever tried fasting, you would have been surprised. If you try fasting, then for 2-3 days in the beginning, you will feel hunger. And then sometimes hunger will disappear completely. It will come again. It will disappear again. It will come again. You are not eating at all. So you cannot say the hunger disappears, because I have eaten. You are fasting. Sometimes hunger comes with great power, tries to overpower you. And if you remain undisturbed by it, the hunger goes. The chakra has fallen asleep. It will wake again in its turn when the day will come, and it will fall back into sleep again. The same happens with the sex center. You feel so hungry for love, then you have made love, and then suddenly all desire for love disappears. The chakra has fallen asleep. If you try celibacy without repression, then you will be surprised if you don't repress your sexual desire, you simply watch it. Try it for 3 months. Just be watchful. When the desire comes, sit silently. Let it be there. Let it knock on your doors. Listen to it. Be attentive. But don't be carried away by it. Let it be there. Don't repress it. And don't indulge in it. Be a witness. And you will be surprised again. Sometimes the desire comes with such intensity that one feels one may go crazy. and then automatically, on its own accord, it disappears, and sex becomes irrelevant. Again it comes. Again it disappears. The chakra goes on moving. Sometimes it is day, then sex arises. Sometimes it is night. Then the sex goes to sleep. And so it is true about all 6 chakras below the 7th. Sleep does not have a separate chakra. Sleep has a counterpart with each chakra, except Sahasrara. So one more thing to be understood, as you grow higher and higher in your chakras, you will have a better quality of sleep because a higher chakra has a deeper quality of relaxation. The man who lives with the first Muladhara will not have a deep sleep. His sleep will be very superficial because he lives with the physical, the material. These chakras can be described in this way too. First, the material, Muladhara. Second, the vital, Svadhisthana. Third, the sexual, the electrical, Manipura. Fourth, the mortal, aesthetic, Anahata. Fifth, the religious, Vishuddha. Sixth, the spiritual, Agya. And seventh, the divine, Sahasrara. As you move higher, your sleep will go deeper and will have a new quality to it. The man who is food obsessed and lives only to eat and eat and eat, his sleep will be very disturbed. His sleep will not have silence, peace to it. His sleep will not have music in it. His sleep will be nightmarish. The man who is a little higher than the food addict, who is more interested in people than in things, wants to absorb people, will have a deeper sleep, but not very deep. The sexual person will have the deepest in the lower realm. That's why sex is used almost as a tranquilizer. If you cannot fall asleep, make love. And immediately you will be falling asleep. Love relieves us of tensions. In the West, doctors go on prescribing sex for those who suffer from sleeplessness. Now they even prescribe sex for people who are prone to heart attacks because sex relaxes, gives you deep sleep. On the lowest plane, sex gives you the deepest sleep. Then if you move still higher, with the fourth, the Anahata, sleep becomes tremendously tranquil, silent, very purifying, and refined. When you love somebody, your relaxation is tremendous, immense. Just the idea that somebody loves you and you love somebody relaxes you. All tensions are gone. The world is no longer alien. It is a home. With love, the house is transformed into a home. And the alien world becomes a community, and nothing is far away. Through the person you love, God has come very much closer. A loving person knows a deep sleep. Hate, and you will miss your sleep. Be angry, and you will miss your sleep. You will fall lower. Love, have compassion, and you will have a deep sleep. With the fifth, sleep becomes almost prayerful. Hence, all the religions of the world have been insisting to pray before you go to sleep. Let prayer be associated with sleep. Never fall into sleep without prayer. So the rhythm of prayer goes on vibrating in your sleep. The reverberations of the prayer will transform your sleep. The fifth is the center of prayer. And if you can pray, and if you can fall asleep praying, you will be surprised in the morning. You will awake and you will awake praying. Your very wakefulness will be a sort of prayer. With the fifth, sleep becomes prayer. It is no longer ordinary sleep. You are not only going into sleep, you are going in a subtle way into God. Sleep is a door when you forget your ego. And it is easier to drop into God than while you are awake. Because when you are awake, the ego is very strong. When you fall deep into sleep, your healing powers function to their total optimum capacity. Hence, the physicians say that if a person is ill and cannot sleep, there is no possibility for their being to be healed. Because healing comes from within. Healing comes when the ego is absolutely non-existential. When the ego is not, then the healing power flows from the within. It wells up. The man who has moved to the fifth, the Vishuddha chakra, to the chakra of prayer, his life becomes a benediction. You can see, even if he walks, you will feel the quality of relaxation in his gestures, in his movements. The sixth chakra, the Agya, is the last, where sleep becomes perfect, beyond which sleep is not needed. The work is finished. Up to the sixth, sleep is needed. With the sixth, sleep becomes meditative. Not even prayerful, but meditative. Because in prayer there is a duality, I and thou, the devotee and the deity. With the sixth, even that duality disappears. Sleep is profound as death. In fact, death is nothing but a great sleep. And sleep is nothing but a small death. With the sixth, sleep penetrates to your deepest core, and then the work is finished. When you come out of the sixth to the seventh, sleep is no longer needed. You have gone beyond duality. Then you are never tired. So sleep is not needed. This state of the seventh is the state of pure absolute awareness. You could call it the state of Christ, Buddha, God. Many questions are posed. If sex changes into love, does the urge to dominate become will, or the effort to be conscious? If sex changes into love, does the urge to dominate become will, or the effort to be conscious? This too has to be understood. The first three lower centers are deeply related with the second part. The three higher centers, first, the Muladhara, the Vadisthana, the Manipura, these are the first three. The second three are Anahata, Vishuddha, Agya. These are two pairs. They are joined together deeply, and it has to be understood. It will be helpful for us, for our journey. The first chakra is concerned with food, and the fourth chakra is concerned with love. Love and food are deeply related, joined together. Hence, it happens that whenever somebody loves you, you don't eat much. If a woman is loved, she remains lean, thin, and beautiful. If she is not loved, she starts becoming fat, ugly, goes on accumulating. She starts eating too much, or vice versa as well. If a woman does not want to be loved, she starts eating too much. That becomes a protection. Then nobody will be attracted toward her. Have you seen? If a beloved comes to your home, a friend has come, and you are so happy, so full of love, that day appetite disappears. You don't feel like eating. as if something more subtle than food has fulfilled you. Something more subtle than food is inside you, and the emptiness is not there. You are full. You feel full. Miserable people eat too much. Happy people don't eat too much. The happier a person, the less he or she is addicted to food, because they have a higher food available. Love. Love is food on a higher plane. If food is food for the body, love is food for the spirit. Now, even scientists are suspecting it. When a child is born, the mother can give just milk, bodily food. She may not give love. When the child will suffer, his body will grow, but his spirit will suffer. Just bodily nourishment is not enough. Spiritual nourishment is needed. If a mother only gives food and not love, then she is not a mother. She is only a nurse. And the child will suffer for his whole life. Something will remain stuck, not grown, retarded. The child needs food. The child needs love. Love is needed even more than food. Have you seen? If a child is given love, the child does not bother about food much. The mother loves the child. She is always worried that the child is not drinking as much milk as the child should. But if the mother is non-loving, then the child drinks too much milk. In fact, it is difficult to take the child away from the breast because the child becomes afraid. Love is not there. The child has to depend only on physical food. The subtle food is missing. And this goes on happening in your whole life. Whenever you feel that you are missing love, you go on suffering your body with food. It becomes a substitute. Whenever people feel empty and they don't have that thrill that love brings, that zest that love brings, that energy that love releases, they start stuffing the body with food. They have fallen back to their childhood. They are in a regressed state. Children who are given enough love are never addicted to much food. Their spirit is so full, the higher is available. Who bothers about the lower? Remember, all the religions have talked about fasting for a certain reason. Unless you are taken out of your food obsession, prayer will not happen. Hence, fasting gives a great possibility to pray. Now, I'm not telling you to become addicted to fasting. I'm not telling you to start torturing yourself. But if you are a food addict, then fasting is the medicine. If you've been eating too much, bring a balance. Eating too much, you remain too attached to the physical, and you cannot fly into the sky. You are too burdened. A little fasting will be helpful. And in fasting, people have observed that prayer becomes very easy and simple. It is no longer a problem, because when you are not burdened too much by food, and the body, the spirit is weightless, can fly. The spirit has wings. The first and the fourth are related. And my experience is that if people are helped to be more loving, by and by, they forget about food. The old religions insist for fasting. I insist for love. And you can see the connection. The old religions insist for fasting so that you can be taken away from your too much food obsession. I insist for love. Then, without even becoming aware, if you are loving you, if you are loving, you will be taken away from your food obsession. The old religions sometimes can be dangerous because the food addict can turn into a fast addict. and they can become another sort of neurotic person. First, they were eating too much. Now, many start starving themselves. In both cases, they remain concerned with food. And there's many people in many areas, many Jaina monks, they continuously think about food. They believe in fasting. They fast. But they are continuously thinking about food, what to eat, what not to eat, how to eat, when to eat. Their whole psychology is based on food. Food becomes too much of a problem. Hence, I don't insist on fasting. I insist on love. And fasting comes as a shadow. If you are tremendously in love, one day you will find you don't want to eat. The love is so much, and you don't want to destroy it. You are flowing so high, you don't care to stuff yourself and bring yourself low. You don't care to move on earth today. And the fasting comes naturally. You don't think about it. You don't take a vow about it. You don't take a decision about it. Suddenly you feel that higher food is available and the lower is not needed. And the fasting happens. Then fasting is beautiful. The second chakra is related to the fifth. The second chakra is political, domination over others. And the fifth chakra is spiritual power, domination over oneself. With the second chakra, you try to overpower people. With the fifth, you try to overpower yourself. With the second, you try to conquer others. With the fifth, you try to conquer yourself. With the second, you become a politician. With the fifth, you become a priest. And priests and politicians have always remained together. There is a conspiracy between the priest and the politician, the kings and the priests, the politicians and the popes. They are joined together. They may not be aware, but this is the basic cause behind it. The politician needs the support of the priest, and the priest feels somehow in tune with the politician, because both hanker for power. One over others, the other over oneself. But the goal is power. Remember, I would not like you to become a politician, and I would not like you to become a priest either. In fact, there is no need to dominate others, and there is no need to dominate oneself. Domination as such should be dropped. One should simply be. One should simply be. The very idea of dominating is egotistic. It's egoistic. Whether you dominate others or yourself makes no difference. Haven't you observed that a person who feels that he or she has great self-control becomes a great egoist? They go on declaring that they have tremendous control over themselves. And their egos are strengthened. There is danger. Domination as such has to be dropped. You should not become a priest. Become religious, true religion, not the man-made. Don't become a priest. To become religious is one thing. To become a priest is another. The priest, by and by, starts declaring that he not only has power over himself, he has power over God. The priest, by and by, starts declaring that he has power over spiritual forces, psychic forces, occult, esoteric. He becomes more and more obsessed with inner powers, but all power to an ego trip. Be aware of the second, and be aware of the fifth, too. There are pitfalls. There are dangerous possibilities. And once a person becomes a priest, he stops. His growth is no longer going on. Once you have become a priest, you are no longer religious. Your whole energy has become stagnant. The religious person is always flowing from first to second, from second to third, from third to fourth. They're always flowing up to the seventh. And they know no stopping. There is no station on the way. And with the seventh, they also do not stop, because the seventh is when they disappear. There is nobody to stop. Up to the sixth, you can stop and become stagnant. With each center, there is a possibility that you may fall and become stagnant. If you become stagnant with the first, you will know only the material. If you become stagnant with the second, you will know only political. If you become stagnant with the third, you will know only the sexual. And so on and so forth. The second and fifth are joined together, and so are the third and sixth. The third is the sex center. The sixth is the Tantra center. Now, one thing is always to be remembered. If you are not very alert, you may go on believing that you are moving into Tantra, and you may be simply rationalizing your sexuality. It may be nothing but sex, rationalized in the terminology of Tantra. If you move into sex with awareness, it can turn into Tantra. If you move into Tantra with unawareness, it can fall and become ordinary sex. It has happened in many places on this planet, such as India, because only India has tried it. All the Tantra schools in India, sooner or later, were reduced to sex orgies. It is very difficult to keep aware. It is almost impossible to keep aware. If from the very beginning the discipline has not gone very deep in you, there is every possibility that you will start deceiving yourself. Tantra schools across arose in India with great energy, with great insight. And they had something, because that is the last center humanly available. The seventh is the superhuman. The seventh is divine. The sixth is the spiritual center. From sex to Tantra, a great revolution, a mutation is possible in man. And in the East, people became aware that if you become meditative while making love, the quality of sex changes and something new enters it. It becomes tantric. It becomes prayerful. It becomes meditative. It becomes samadhi. And a natural flow happens. From the third, you can jump to the sixth. You can bypass the fourth and the fifth. It is a great temptation, a great leap. You can bypass, shortcut, but dangerous as well, because you may be simply deceiving yourself. Man is very clever in finding relations, realizations, rationalizations. From the diary of a globe-trotting young cinema queen. Monday, the captain saw me on deck and was kind enough to ask me to sit at his table for the rest of the trip. Tuesday, I spent the morning on the bridge with the captain. He took my picture, leaning against the passengers not allowed on this bridge sign. Wednesday, the captain made proposals to me on becoming an officer and a gentleman. Thursday, the captain threatened to sink the ship unless I agreed to his proposals. Friday, I saved 800 lives today. We can find rationalization. The temptation is always there. We can find good reasons for wrong motives. Tantra can at any moment become just a garbed sexuality, just nothing but sexuality in the guise of Tantra, then it is dangerous, more dangerous than ordinary sex. Ordinary sex is at least honest. We don't pretend. We don't claim something higher. We simply say it is ordinary sex. But Tantra can be dangerous. We start pretending that it is something higher, something superhuman, something not of this world. Keep this in mind. The third and the sixth are very deeply related. The third can become the sixth, and the sixth can fall into the third. A great awareness is needed by us all. These first three and the last three are two balancing forces. The seventh is beyond. When the first three have been balanced by the second three, when the lower has been balanced by the higher, when the lower has been canceled by the higher, when the lower and the higher are of the same weight, then the seventh happens. Then suddenly the duality disappears. Then there is nothing lower, nothing higher, nothing outer, nothing inner, nothing worldly, nothing otherworldly. Then only one is. That one is the goal of all search. Our soul resides within two bodies. The subtle body and the gross body. At the time of death, the gross body dies. The body which is made of earth and water. The body which consists of flesh, bones, marrow, drops, dies. Subsequently, the body comprised of subtle thoughts, subtle feelings, subtle vibrations, subtle filaments remains. This body, formed of all these subtle things, along with the soul, once again proceeds on a journey, and again enters a gross body for a new birth. When a new soul enters the mother's womb, it means this subtle body enters. In the event of death, only the gross body disintegrates, not the subtle body. But with the occurrence of the ultimate death, what we call moksha, the subtle body disintegrates along with the gross body. Then there is no more birth for the soul. Then the soul becomes one with the whole. This happens only once. It is like a drop merging into the ocean. Three things have to be understood. First, there is the element of the soul. When the two types of bodies, the gross and the subtle, come in contact with this element of the soul, both become active. We are familiar with the gross, the physical body. A yogi is familiar with the subtle body. And those who go beyond yoga are familiar with the soul. Ordinary eyes are able to see the gross body. The yogic eye is able to see the subtle body. But that which is beyond yoga, that which exists beyond the subtle body, is experienced only in samadhi. One who goes beyond meditation attains samadhi. And it is in the state of samadhi that one experiences the divine. The ordinary man has the experience of the physical body. The ordinary yogi has the experience of the subtle body. The enlightened yogi has the experience of the divine. Godliness is one, but there are countless subtle bodies and there are countless gross bodies. The subtle body is the causal body. It is this body that takes on the new physical body. We see many light bulbs around here. The electricity is one. That energy is one. But it is manifesting through different bulbs. The bulbs have different bodies. but their soul is one. Similarly, the consciousness manifesting through us is one. But in the manifestation of this consciousness, two vehicles are applied. One is the subtle vehicle, the subtle body. The other is the gross vehicle, the gross body. Our experience is limited to the gross, to the physical body. This restricted experience is the cause of all human misery and ignorance. This restricted experience is the cause of all human misery and ignorance. But there are people who, even after going beyond the physical body, may stop at the subtle body. They will say, there are an infinite number of souls. But those who go beyond even the subtle body will say, godliness is one. The soul is one. Brahman is one. When I refer to the entering of the soul, I mean that the soul, which is still associated with the subtle body, it means the subtle body, the soul, is enveloped in and has not disintegrated yet. That's why we say that the soul, which attains to the ultimate freedom, steps out of the cycle of birth and death. There is indeed no birth and death for the soul. It was never born, nor will it ever die. It was never born, nor will it ever die. The cycle of birth and death stops with the end of the subtle body, because it is the subtle body that causes a new birth. The subtle body is an integrated seed consisting of our thoughts, desires, lusts, longings, experiences, knowledge. This body is instrumental in taking us on our continuing journey. However, one whose thoughts are all annihilated, whose passions have all vanished, whose desires have all disappeared, who has no desire left within him, there is no place for him to go. There is no reason left for him to go anywhere. Then there is no reason for him to take birth again. There's a wonderful story in the life of Ramakrishna. Those who were close to him, who knew him to be Paramahansa, which basically means an enlightened one, used to be deeply troubled about one thing. It bothered them greatly to see an enlightened person such as Ramakrishna, one who had attained samadhi, craving food so much. Ramakrishna used to become very anxious about food. He would often enter the kitchen asking his wife, Sharda Devi, what's cooking today? It's getting so late. Right in the middle of a serious talk on spiritual matters, he would get up abruptly and rush toward the kitchen asking what was being cooked. Start looking for food. Feeling embarrassed, Sharda would politely chide him. What are you doing? What most people think. What must people think? Dropping the talk on Brahman so suddenly, starting to talk about food, Ramakrishna would laugh and remain silent. Even his close disciples remonstrated with him. They would say, it's giving you a bad name. People say, how can such a person have attained knowledge when his desire for food is so overwhelming? One day his wife Sharda got very upset and reproached him. Ramakrishna told her, you have no idea, but the day I show an aversion to food, know that I shall not live more than 3 days afterwards. Sharda asked, what do you mean? Ramakrishna said, all my desires and passions have disappeared. All my thoughts are gone. But for the good of mankind, I am deliberately holding on to this one desire for food. It's like a boat tied down with one last rope. Once that rope is cut loose, the boat will move on to its endless journey. I'm staying on with effort. Perhaps those around him did not give much thought to this at the time. But 3 days before Ramakrishna's death, when Sharda entered with a dish of food, Ramakrishna looked at it, shut his eyes, and lay with his back turned toward her. In a flash, she remembered Ramakrishna's words about his death. The dish fell from her hands, and she began to weep bitterly. Ramakrishna said, "Don't cry. You wished I should not crave for food. Your wish has come true." Exactly 3 days after this incident, Ramakrishna died. He was holding on with effort to just a little bit of desire. That little desire had become the support for the continuation of his life journey. With the disappearance of that desire, the entire support ceased to exist. Those whom we call the Tirthankaras, those whom we call the Buddhas, the sons of God, the avatars, they hold on to only one desire. They keep the desire solely out of compassion for the good and well-being of all mankind. The day this desire is lost, they cease to live in the body, and an endless journey toward the infinite begins. After that, there is no more birth, no more death. After that, there is neither one nor many. What remains after that cannot in any way be counted in numbers. Hence, those who know don't even say. Brahman is one. The divine is one. To call it one is meaningless when there is no way to follow it with two. When one can't count on any further in the sequence of 2 and 3, saying one is meaningful, only as long as 2, 3, and 4 are also there. One is significant only in the context of other numbers. That's why those who know don't even say Brahman is one. They say Brahman is non-dual. He is not two. They are saying something quite remarkable. They are saying godliness is not 2, 3. Is no way you can count godliness in terms of numbers. Even calling it one, we are attempting to count it in terms of numbers, which is wrong. But to experience that one is still a long way. Right now, we are still at the level of the gross body, of the body which endlessly takes multiple forms. When we enter this body, we find another body, a subtle body. Going beyond this subtle body, we attain that which is not a body, that which is bodiless, the soul. Remember, where we enter this body, we find another body, subtle body. Going beyond this subtle body, we attain that which is not a body, that which is bodiless, the soul. So we all salute the Buddha within us. We may not be aware of it. We may not have ever dreamed about it, that we are Buddhas, that nobody can be anything else. The Buddhahood is the very essential core of our being, that it is not something to happen in the future, that it has happened already. It is the very source we come from. It is the source and the goal too. It is from Buddhahood that we move, and it is to Buddhahood that we move. This one word, Buddhahood, contains all. the full circle of life, from the Alpha to the Omega. But you are fast asleep. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. Not that you have to become a Buddha, but only that you have to recognize it. That you choose to return to your own source. That you have to look within yourself. A confrontation with yourself will reveal your Buddhahood. The day one comes to see oneself, the whole of existence becomes enlightened. The day one comes to see oneself, the whole of existence becomes enlightened. It is not that a person becomes enlightened. How can a person become enlightened? The very idea of being a person is part of the unenlightened mind. It is not that I have become enlightened. The I has to be dropped before one can become enlightened. So how can I become enlightened? That is absurdity. The day I became enlightened, the whole of existence became enlightened. Since that moment, I have not seen anything other than Buddhas in many forms, with many names, with 1,001 problems. But Buddhas, they still are. So I salute the Buddha within us all. I am immensely glad that so many Buddhas have gathered here. The very fact of our coming here is the beginning of the recognition. The respect in your hearts, the love in your hearts, is respect and love for your own Buddhahood. The trust is not a trust in something extrinsic to us. The trust is self-trust. By trusting, we will learn to trust ourselves. By coming close, we will come close to ourselves. Only a recognition has to be attained. The diamond is there. We have forgotten about it. Or we have never remembered it from the very beginning. There is a very famous saying of Emerson. Man is a god in ruins. Man is a god in ruins. I kind of agree, and I disagree. The insight has some truth in it. Man is not as he should be. The insight is there, but a little upside down. Man is not God in ruins. Man is God in the making. Man is a budding Buddha. The bud is there. It can bloom any moment. Just a little effort. Just a little help is needed. And the help is not going to cause it. It is already there. Your effort is only going to reveal it to you. Help to unfold what is there, hidden. It is a discovery. But the truth is already there. The truth is eternal. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy breath, slow, in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out of the mouth. Remain still. The quality of our personal relationships represents how interconnected and whole we are within ourselves. For today, take some time to recognize and acknowledge all the interactions, connections, relations, and relationships you are still thinking about from your past. This may seem like an impossible feat, yet just do the best memory recall you can. Go back to your childhood, grade school, high school. Take a good look at what memories you are repeating. Look at what memories you are still repeating. What would you have done or said differently? What do you wish you would have experienced? What happened to your heart when you did start doing and saying what you wanted to do? Your assignment exercise today is to go and tell those people what you most need to say and start doing those things you most want to do with them. This is your chance to make a significant life change in their hearts and in yours. This exercise is huge and will free up more spiritual connection than you could possibly know. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, the following morning. We will return here Monday, November 14th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation called